Lanesman and welcome to another video tutorial.
This video tutorial looks at the subject of creating an animated GIF that we can use on a web page. We can do this right from within Photoshop. In fact, this technique can be used in most versions of Photoshop and not necessarily the latest version of Photoshop CC 2015. This feature has been around for quite some time in many other earlier versions of Photoshop. As you can see on the right hand side, I have got two images that I have opened. They are both PNG files, which implies that they have a transparent background because we do not want them to animate with a white background. I will simply click and drag on the red car and place it within the pre-designed background that I've created in Photoshop. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate the car to prepare it for the direction of the animation. We do that by heading over to the Edit menu, and I will use Free Transform. Notice that when you place the cursor on one of the nodes, we can see the straight double-headed arrow. The straight double-headed arrow simply implies that we can resize this object. What we're wanting to do is to place the cursor just outside of that node, and we can now click and hold and rotate. When we see that double-headed semicircular icon, I can now press enter. I will use the move tool, and we're now ready to start the animation. To do that, we will need the timeline panel. We head on over to the window menu and select timeline. What we're doing in the timeline is we're animating the position of the object on a layer. Let's rename layer 1. We double click on the text of layer 1 and we'll call this one red car. The next step we need to do is to create a video timeline. We can now see that the red car layer has been placed into the timeline. Expanding the disclosure triangle reveals the types of animation we can achieve. We can achieve animation of position, opacity, when you see it, when you don't see it, or of a layer style such as a drop shadow or an outer glow or an inner glow. In this example, we're going to animate the position. To the left of the position wording, you will notice that little stopwatch icon. That is indicating that we're creating a keyframe animation. A keyframe denotes a change in an animation. Let's have a look how this works. Firstly, we will need to decide where we would like this red car to start animating from. I select the move tool. I'm going to drag it just to the start of where I'd like it to start animating from, and I click on the stopwatch to add a keyframe. You will now notice the yellow diamond has been created. This is now informing the program that this is the starting position of the car for this animation. The next point is to decide how long this animation will run for. By dragging the playhead over to the 3 frames position, we decided that this animation will run over 3 frames. I now position the car to the end point of that 3 frame animation, and I will move it to just outside of the image. You also notice in the timeline that a keyframe has been created. What we'll need to do now is to just bring in the length of this animation, and let's just adjust that just to the end. You will now notice that if we click on the playhead and we rewind, we can now press play, and you will see that the animation has been achieved. And it stops at the end of the animation. Let's rewind the playhead and let's bring in the second image, which is the blue plane. Clicking on it, dragging it into the image, we now see layer 1 of the blue plane. Let's rename that. Double click on the word layer 1. Let's call this one blue plane. As you can see, there's a constant reference to the layer's name. To start off with, let's drag in and shorten this clip. Now we need to again decide on the rotation and on the animation path. We've now confirmed that we're definitely in the blue layer, and we will again use Edit Free Transform. We're looking for the semicircular double-headed arrow, which implies that we can rotate. We will rotate it to that angle and simply hit the Enter key or the Return key. We're still using the Move tool, and we will move the plane out to the start of the animation. We now need to open this disclosure triangle and again repeat the same steps. We click on the stopwatch for position, we're adding a keyframe for the start of the animation. Moving the playhead over to the end of the animation, we're now going to decide where the destination will be of this plane, and we decide that it is going to fly out of this image to that position over there, and a keyframe has been added. We can rewind and press the spacebar, and we can see now how we have created the animation. We now need to save this as an animated GIF. To do this, we head on over to the File menu and we select Export. If you're using a previous version of Photoshop, you would invoke File, Save for Web. Save for Web has now been moved into the export option in the later versions of Photoshop, and we will select Save for Web. It's just busy building a preview of this. There we have a preview of our GIF file because we're creating an animated GIF. In the bottom section here, it informs us of our sizing, the looping options, how many times would we like it to loop. We will say forever, and we will now click on Save. By default, when you open up this Save for Web option, it wants to save images only. That would imply that would be a single static GIF file. However, we would like to animate this. For that, we pull down on the Format list and we select HTML and Images. The images are the GIF files and the PNG files, and the HTML file that is created will inform the GIF how to animate. Click on HTML and Images, we select our folder, HTML and Images, and we click on Save. That has now been created. We now head on over to our animated GIF folder where we have recently just saved this animation. It's generated the HTML file and it's generated the images. Opening up that folder, we can now see the GIF file. Right click, open with, open up our web browser, Firefox, and there is our animation as an animated GIF that is going to loop forever. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. I just thought it would be a lot of fun.